These are the attachment points for the seat. There are 4 of them, 2 at the rear, 2 at the front. It's just an E12 Torx bolt with 50 Newton meters. It has to come out from each of those spots to get access to them. You want to motor the seat all the way forward to get at the rears, motor it all the way aft to get at the front attachment bolts. You'll need to remove the cover on the slider there. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. And once you've done that, then you will motor it back to a central position. And then you need to go and disconnect the battery and also raise it all the way up before you do that. So raise it all the way up into a central position, go and disconnect the battery, and then you can disconnect this. I'll show you underneath the seat in a moment where that is. The first thing you want to do is get, this is going to be attached underneath on the frame, and it's just a little zip tie with a little a plug there. So you just need to get a little tool and pop that off, and then you can remove the plug and then the seat can come out. Here's the seat out. Obviously the attachment points being here and here, you need to motor the seat fore and aft to get them into the right position. And I'm assuming it's because of the tensioner on the seatbelt latch that requires you to disconnect the battery. So obviously you need to put the seat in the correct position once you remove the bolts prior to disconnecting that. To get access to the bolts at the front, this is the slider that sits at the front of it on the rail. All you need to do is get a little screwdriver and just lift that little tab there. Okay, and then that thing will just slide straight forward really easily. When you're removing the seat out of the car, the thing that I found was easiest is to actually have the seat back all the way forward so it collapses it as much as possible. And then it's in sort of a nice package. Then you're going to take most of the weight underneath here. Don't grab hold of this thing at the front here, that's plastic and it'll probably break because the seats are relatively heavy. You could grab hold of this one in here, but it's a bit hard to grab hold of. But if you just put your hand underneath all of here, with it collapsed, it's actually pretty easy just to grab hold of that and lift the whole thing out of the car. To remove the seat out of the car, the way that I found was easiest is to actually grab hold of the back release and actually put it forward like that, and then you'll actually get to, what you'll want to do is in the car, where it sits, it'll want to sit like that, but then that'll want to flop forward. So if you just sort of shuffle that forward a little bit, like that, and then it'll sit like that in the car, which will then allow you to have access to everything at the bottom there, to actually disconnect all the attachment points, etc. So the little plug that attaches to the harness is going to be attached to that point there, so you just want to get a little tool and sort of just get underneath there and just pop that off. In addition, you have the big harness, which is actually going to be plugged into here. The way that comes out is it's going to be plugged in there, and then that pulls out, and by pulling that out, that will actually pop straight off. The problem is that this motor is in the way, so what you need to do is, it's actually attached on these little clips here to that point there, so you actually need to move that out of the way, have that clear so you can then move that away. And the way to do that is just look down from the top here, and there are actually 2 little barbs there and there, and you just pull those inwards. I'll put those on just to show you. That'll be like that, and you just want to push them out of the way. Out of the way like that, and then that'll just slide straight off, which allows you to have access to it. Things you'll be able to see when you get underneath here. This is the memory unit here. You've got 4 motors. There's one at the front here, which is for the I think they call it the bolster. You've got one here, which is for the fore aft movement. There's a little worm drive on either side of those. And you've got the 2 motors here. I think the aft one here is for the back. It's attached to a point back here on a big lever, which changes your back angle, and this one here changes the height of the seat up and down. The lumbar support is actually up in the back of the seat, and it's a pad that blows up and down and moves around, but you can't get access to it just simply from underneath the seat like this. If you need to remove this panel, which contains the switches, etc., on the outside, to do that, once you get the seat out, they say to have this the seat all the way up to give you lots of room. But there's a Torx screw up in here, and there's another one at the back here. And once you remove those, it's pretty obvious. There's a clip up the top here, up the front, and another one down the back in here. You just squeeze those together, and then that will just come straight off. If you need to change the seatbelt latch, relatively simple, except for the wiring harness actually runs all the way down in here and all the way up at the front, so you have to unravel that because it actually goes all the way up into the spot where it plugs into that main yellow plug, but it's just one big bolt there which comes off to replace the seatbelt if you need to.